Learning Perek Dal Halacha Yud Aleph. Eirech, a guest, Shemalikin Olav B'Terech Beisoy. That although he's elsewhere, back at home, they're lighting for him. We'll go down to the Pirush. In the Pirush we find Ein Tzor Lahadlik Olav B'Mokem Shenisarach Boy. You don't have to light for him where he is a guest. Ein Lo Bayis Lahadlik Olav Boy. If he doesn't have a house where they should light for him, and therefore Tzor Lahadlik B'Mokem Shenisarach Boy. He has to light where he is a guest. If he doesn't light himself, he has to join them. If he has his own house, but even if he has his own house, even though they light for him in his own home back home, but since he's by himself, he has to light. The people will see a house, a Jewish person in the house, he didn't like Chanukah, they'll assume he didn't light. My Mishnah cites Shabbos, Chovgim Omen Aleph. My Mishnah says the origin of Im Hoyer Loi Bayis of Ne'atzma is found in the Rif. If he has one door for himself, this person is a guest, meaning he's just a guest in the city where he is for the moment. He has to light because of the suspicion. The Rambam is of the opinion that it's even when you light in his house, and that would seem to be the majority opinion. Because everyone that has a doorway for himself and he doesn't light, you can always suspect him. Even more so, we find in Halacha Yud that the Chotza that had two doors, we said, they even suspected him when he has two doors that maybe he didn't light at either door, even if he lived by one door, certainly here. The Lecha Mishnah explains, V'chein Iker, that this is the correct version, because you could explain the Rif differently. If he has a door for himself, meaning he has a separate entrance to somebody else's house, and he's a guest there, it doesn't help that he joins the Balabayas. Because since he has a different entrance, people will say this is your part of the house, and therefore the Balabayas' lighting does not suffice for you. The Magen Mishnah states that the Rambam learned in the Rif, that even if they light for him in the house, because of Chshad, you have to light. Now, what is this Mibnei Ha'ivrim? The Binyan Shloimeh questions. What's the Chiddush here? If a person in his own home that he has two doorways to his courtyard, and he lives by one side, the Rambam says he has to light. Certainly, I guess would obviously have to light if he has his own doorway. And he answers that a chotzer that has two doorways, the Ran says you don't need to make a broch on the second doorway because it was lit already. So the chiddush is that there's a chiyuv on him to light, and therefore, since there's a chiyuv, he would have to make his own brocha. And therefore, that's the difference. And he adds furthermore, if a person did not point his wife specifically to be his shliach, today you could do that over the phone, but let's assume in those days when they didn't, and she did it without his knowledge, she's a shliach. And it's something that's a merit for someone, and we always say, just if he's parted from lighting, then he is considered a merit. But an Areach that has his own door, we'll go to the next page. Since he has to light for himself, then what his wife lights would not cause him a problem of making a brocha, and she's not his shliach, and therefore Medina he has to light and he should make a brocha. They bring from the Magen Avraham in the name of Knesset Hagdolah that you don't have to make a brocha. The Magen Avraham writes maybe you can differentiate, meaning this difference of whether his wife lit for him or not. The Binyan Shloimeh wants to point out that that's why the Rambam was very careful and explicit in his language. If we know they're lighting for him in his house, meaning that he wanted to say that even though they're lighting in his house, if he has his own doorway, he has to make a brocha, not just light. The Torah says a guest needs to light by himself, and he's not yotze with the balabayas. However, he can give a puta to be partners with the balabayit, and if they light for him in his house, he doesn't have to give a puta either. Im Yeshle Pesach Pasur La'atzmoi. He's not Yotzi what they're lighting in his house, and not whether he gave money for the Balabayas, but he has to light by his own doorway. He cites from his father the Rosh and the Tshuva. It doesn't matter if you're eating by your father or you're eating by your friend and he has his own house. For sleeping, you have to light there, since he has a special house for sleeping. But the Olam see him going, and therefore if you won't light, they don't know that he ate something elsewhere. And he lived there. Beis brings in Jews Rashba that he should not light, but rather, I guess it's preferable to join in with the owner with a pruta. He cites the Maria Abuav, name of Orchos Chaim, that a child who's of age lives in his father's house, but he's independent, yeah, and meaning he supports himself. He has a rule just like any stranger. He has to either join, and if he has his own doorway, he would have to light. And the same rule would apply to somebody who's supporting his son-in-laws and he's living in his house, and they have to join him or light themselves. It brings in the Tumas Hadeshin that a guest who's married, if he wants to light, even though his wife is lighting, and he wants to make a brocha, he can do so. Jesus says you don't need to. His wife lit at home. The Ramah cites the meaning is Ketrumas Hadeshin. You can make a brocha, and his reasoning is well placed. And the Gamma Aril writes, even today, Achsanoi can be mishtated with a puta in the balabayas. The Shulchan Aruch codifies the halacha that a guest that they don't light for him in his house, then he has to give a puta to balabayas to be partnered with him in the oil. The Mishnah Berurah explains that he doesn't have to give half of the Horitzos, nor that a puta is enough, because there's a question that technically you would have to have supply enough oil for a half hour, or at least about half of the value. And he says it's enough that he gives him a portion. But there are those who are saying that the Balabai should add a little bit of shemen for him, more so than he would usually put in for the half hour. Which is interesting. So it comes out you're relying on these times, so why shouldn't it have to burn for 2 hours, for an hour? But there are those when this would be the case if he gave him a portion of the shemen and matono, it would be enough also. Let's say the person is destitute, he doesn't have money. Still, if the Achsanoi has a candle, it's better he should light for himself. So to Bochum, they're learning not in their homes, have to participate. Not only a Bochum who's eating elsewhere, but who relies on the Balabayas is included in the Balabayas' house because they used to live by hosts. And the Jewish helpers, since they reside and dwell there, really they shouldn't have to light. But if they want to, they can light. Each one can light. Mechaber continues. If he has a Pesach Pasur La'atzmoi, then you do have to light, even though that house is set aside for sleeping, and he eats on the house of the Balabayas. And this is the din of somebody who eats by his father as well. The Mishnah Berurah points out that if he doesn't have a doorway that's open, even if he's staying in a separate room, he can join. In other words, if in the house there are many rooms, or if he's married, he can rely on what his wife is lighting in his home, or others are lighting for him. And there are those poskim who have the opinion that's only in the time of the Gemara, that they did it by the doorways. But today, you light in the house, all of the guests, even somebody who's in his home, you're lighting for him, he has to light for himself. Because not everybody knows who's married and who's not, and they might suspect, and adding a put is not good enough, because the meaning today is everybody's madlik in his house by himself. And people might suspect him of not keeping the chiyuv of the mitzvah of Chanukah. The conclusion of the Magen Avraham is that one should be more stringent, and if he has a room for himself. But if he doesn't have a room for himself, he can rely on his wife and on the pruta that he joins with the balabayas. When he has to light, because he has a separate door to the others, there are those who say you shouldn't make a bracha in such a situation if they light from at home. But if they're not lighting for him at home, for sure he has to make a bracha because he's lighting for himself. He's not mishtate beputa, and he has all the obligations of lighting Chanukah.